So we thought we'd do one last small video with you, Kristina, about comorbidities, because you mentioned that you also suffer from anxiety. So I was interested to talk to you about like the links between them and how like one affects the other. So
yeah, that is actually interesting, because when I filled out the ADHD questionnaire, I fitted everything apart from the section on recklessness.
Mm-hmm.
And reading up about ADHD, ADHD people are, apparently it was quite a sort of adaptive trait in the old days that the ones with ADHD, I'm talking about really primitive times, the ADHD people would go off and do all these really dangerous things, die, and that was a kind of warning to other people, well, don't go out to that part of the reef because obviously it's really dangerous and there are sharks there. So obviously ADHD people served a purpose in societies. Don't quite know what the purpose is in today's society, but hey. I've also been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, and I think that's one of the reasons. Well, I know that's one of the reason why I don't behave in a reckless way. I mean, I was worried when I filled out that form. Because I didn't fit this recklessness pattern. I mean, I've done a few reckless things in my life, but I don't think I've been any more reckless than most people, particularly as a teenager and what have you. I think I've been fairly normal in the reckless department. As far as doing things like all these extreme sports to get your massive adrenaline rush, that kind of thing, and living life on the edge and to the limit and all that, I don't do that. I've never taken drugs because I always thought I'd be the one. I can remember some friends at school used to bunk off and take drugs in their lunch hour. Not drugs, just a joint or something. I never did because I was terrified of getting caught and being expelled. So I never did it. So that wasn't reckless. I never did take drugs. Never have done, never will do. I don't do extreme sports, but I think that's because of the anxiety, as I said. I mean, heights terrify me, going upside down and fast and things. I get really scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I think perhaps the two go rather well together. Perhaps there is. I don't know what the statistics are, actually. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to find out whether people with ADHD do have a higher mortality rate. Than the rest of the population, because they do supposedly these reckless things.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly I don't fall into that category at all. Absolutely not. In some ways I wish I could do some of these things. I mean, these extreme fairground rides and things like that, you never catch me on those ever.
Mm-hmm.
No way. I just get abject terror. So I think that's helped counter this reckless side of ADHD. But I can remember when I filled in that questionnaire, I was very worried going to the Maudsley that I wouldn't be diagnosed with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually would have been a disappointment. Having got that far and fitted all the other categories, I thought, I don't fit that one. And are they going to say that I haven't got it and I'm just making it all up? I've got to start all over again.
Yeah.
But it didn't. They didn't. I mentioned it to the psychiatrist and he said, no, I can understand that because you have this anxiety disorder as well.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about that. You still fit the bill. So that was quite a comfort. But I don't tick every single box of the ADHD, but most of them enough to have got the diagnosis. And I know the reason why I don't fit that one, so that's fine.
Yeah. So do you think there's any link the other way around where your ADHD might have caused some of your anxiety to develop?
Oh, definitely. Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as I said, when I was a child, I was always being moved in class. I lost friends over it because I'd be moved and have to sit on my own, and my best friend would then sit with somebody else, and then they'd form a friendship, etc., etc. So that didn't do my self-esteem any good. Worries about, failure, not being able to do things. I'd panic if I had a deadline to meet. It was set up, panic. Am I going to make it? Am I going to be able to do this thing? Am I going to be able to see it through? yeah, lots of panic situations definitely linked to that. I don't know whether that one caused the other or whether they both ran side by side or what it is. But I'm sure they are definitely linked. Yeah, absolutely. I can't see that anxiety would have caused ADHD, actually, when I think about it. So I think ADHD is more likely to have caused anxiety. But I may have had anxiety anyway. I mean, I think I'm anxious about non-ADHD things, like why would, as I said, I should be doing extreme sports, according to the ADHD chart thing, recklessness thing, but I don't. So I think some anxieties are definitely ADHD linked, because as I said, I used to get, and still do, anxious about meeting deadlines and people getting cross or upset with me if I don't, and feeling a failure if I don't, and finishing things, not finishing things. I get anxious about that. But as far as reckless kind of things go, no, I don't think those are linked actually at all. So I don't know. Who can tell? It's very difficult, and it's difficult for medical practitioners as well. You know, when you've got this comorbidity, two things, and it can be even more. I mean, at times in my life, I've had depression, which is different again. Yeah, and stress. You know, so when you've got all these different things and you've got symptoms that overlap also. Then it's hard for medical practitioners to actually say you've got this. They don't fit into neat boxes. They overlap. And I think it's very, very difficult. I'm sure that's why an awful lot of people are not correctly diagnosed. In fact, sometimes never diagnosed correctly, which is a great shame, because you know, there obviously are treatments out there. There are, even if they're not medical treatments, drug treatments. You know, you maybe have counselling, or just read a book and feel better about, you know, because you don't feel alone anymore. You know, that's one of the good things about having the label. Yeah, you have to be very careful, I think, not to get too much into the victim side of having a label, and you know, labels can stick. So I don't know. I think this is possibly one of the reasons why I haven't mentioned it very widely, because I'm a bit worried. What are people going to think? I mean, I'm the same person that they've always known. Yeah. But when I tell people a label, are they going to start thinking about me differently? Yeah. Are they going to start behaving towards me differently? Are they going to be put off slightly? Yeah. I don't know. That worries me. Yeah. Totally. I feel very comfortable here, obviously, because this is what it's all about. But so far, anyway, only those closest to me know. As I said, my daughter was the one that was the start of all this, bless her heart. But I haven't mentioned it to friends. It's not because I'm ashamed of it exactly. I don't feel shame. It's a little bit anxiety, I suppose, dare I use the word. Yeah. So, I don't know. I wish I could overcome that barrier, actually, and be brave about it. I'd actually, one of the things I would quite like to do, because I like talking. That's an ADHD trait. You can talk till the cows come home, talk the hind leg of a donkey. And as I said earlier in this interview, that I said that I wanted a job where I could talk to people. Never had that. I was a secretary PA. I was a barmaid where I was told to shut up. I was a teacher where, you know, you can talk to a certain extent, but not waffle all over the place. Stick to the point. Difficult. I often thought that if I could break out a bit, I would actually like to maybe go on a speaker's circuit and, you know, talk to other people, because it's very likely that there are people like me, my age perhaps, who don't realise, and their lives don't make sense, like mine didn't make sense. They didn't feel they had an identity. They couldn't piece it all together. You know, who am I? What am I? Why am I like this? But you know, if I could make the penny drop for one person, you know, who sat in an audience and said, "My God, that is me," and then come up and say, "Oh, that was so revealing. I can't believe you just talked to me about my life there. It all falls into place now. It all makes sense. I feel I can go forward from here. You know, what do I do now?" And I'd say to them, "Well, talk to your GP first. You know, try to get some help. come to terms with it, make all sense to you, and you know, forgive yourself for things you haven't done, like turned up on time or got that report in on time or whatever it might be. And join a group maybe. Get it out there. But I haven't quite reached that point.
Well, this is a first step, so yeah, we'll be doing our best to get it out there to some people. So yeah. Well, thank you very much again, and I think this particular thing about anxiety and ADHD is really important to cover, so thanks for doing that one little extra one.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Well, I really hope it does help somebody. If it helps somebody, it will have all been worthwhile, won't it?
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.